Hi, I'm Carl from Apt, and in this video we'll be taking a look at the Sony X900H and the Samsung Q80T side by side. These are two of the most popular TVs we carry here at Apt, and if at any point during the video you decide you want to pick one of these up, you can click the link down in the description below to check out all of our latest pricing. I'll start off by saying these are two really nice TVs. Looking at them individually, you'd have a hard time finding any glaring flaws. When you put them side by side, there are some differences that may affect your choice if you're fortunate enough to be deciding between these two models. The first thing to take into account is design related and has to do with the pedestals. The Samsung has a single pedestal that comes down in the middle, which makes it easier to fit on a wider variety of stands. The Sony has two wide set feet, which can make it difficult to fit onto a narrow stand. This obviously won't matter if you're mounting either of them to the wall, but it may come into play if you're planning on installing your TV on top of an existing stand. The next factor to keep in mind after setting these two up is that the Samsung works right away with their TV Plus streaming channels. So right out of the box, as long as you have a good enough Wi-Fi signal, you get tons of free content to watch even without an antenna. There's no sign up and nothing extra to download. Sony has streaming channels available through apps, but you have to sign into a Google account, download the apps, and then you can watch. I know it's not that big of a deal since most people have a Google account, but for those that don't, or for anyone who doesn't want to sign into anything extra, you'll be happier with the TV Plus feature that Samsung offers. With that being said though, if you're someone who does like lots of apps to choose from, the Sony, currently at least, has a much larger app catalog. Another area where I found Samsung to have an advantage is the home menu. When you press the home button, your content stays on the screen and the home menu opens up at the bottom so you can still see and hear what's going on while you browse your other apps. With the Sony, as soon as you hit your home button, your content, both the sound and the video, will cut off and it takes you to a full home screen. I will say though, I found the Sony to be a lot smoother when you're navigating through all those smart menus. The Samsung wasn't bad by any means, but it lagged just a little bit here and there, while the Sony was pretty much instantaneous with every button press. For inputs, Sony gets the edge here. They both have 4 HDMIs and 2 USBs, but on the Sony you also get a mini plug analog input, 3.5mm headphone out, and an IR out for being able to control a device that you may not have direct line of sight to. Going back to the HDMIs, that's another big difference for any gamers choosing between these two TVs. 2 of the HDMIs on the Sony are 2.1, while the Samsung only has 1. This can pose a problem if you plan on hooking up multiple sources to the TV that can take advantage of the features that HDMI 2.1 offers, like the new Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, or a PC that can run 4K at 120 frames per second. Now audio, although I still think you should get at least a soundbar with either of these, is actually decent on both. I found the Sony to sound a little fuller while the Samsung seemed to be a little brighter. There's ways to tweak the equalizers on both so you can get them to pretty much the same place, but if you don't want to go through the process, the Sony, in my opinion, sounds better out of the box. Then we've got the pictures. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning, if you are choosing between these two TVs, you're gonna be in good shape no matter which one you choose. But there are some subtleties that may swing you one way or the other. Right out of the box, the Samsung is a little heavier on the reds while the Sony has a little more green to the picture. It's not going to be very evident through a compressed YouTube video, but you can see it in person. It can be evened out through some minor calibrating on each of them. It's something to mention for anyone who doesn't necessarily want to go through the trouble of going into the menus to do that. Motion was great on both too. In fact, I generally turn off any motion processing myself. I set these both to auto and they both did a fantastic job. As far as HDR goes, they'll both handle HDR10 and HLG, but the Sony also gets Dolby Vision and the Samsung gets HDR10+. In watching content on both, I noticed better details in the darker scenes on the Sony. Samsung does have the option to adjust shadow details, which helped, but the Sony does better right out of the box. Samsung, on the other hand, seemed to do better with the details in the bright areas. The Sony almost seemed a little blown out at points. Again, something that can be adjusted through the picture menus, not something everyone's necessarily going to want to take the time to do. And light bloom really wasn't a factor on either one of these. They both do a great job of keeping that in check. Viewing angles are the last thing I'm going to touch on for the picture, and the Samsung does a better job here. The 900H from Sony is better than the 900F that it's replacing, but if you're putting this TV in a room where there might be people sitting off-center to watch, the Samsung's going to give you the better results. The big advantages of the Sony are extra connections, including an additional HDMI 2.1, better dark scene details, and a smoother smart system. With Samsung, you get a great selection of streaming channels right out of the box, better details in the bright areas, wider viewing angles, and a better implementation of their smart menu. So which one would you go with? Make sure you let us know in the comments. If If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, and if you have any questions on these TVs or anything else we carry here at Apt, you can always call, email, or chat with one of our experts online or right here at the store. We're always happy to help. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.